property have dominated the environment and managed to convince many in government and the media that they are at the head of a vast army of citizens, when in fact nothing could be further from the truth. In Canada, there is a famous example of this involving an anti-copyright Facebook site put together by a law professor. At the end, it boasted of upwards of 85,000 friends. The existence of this group was then used to attempt to persuade the government that pro-copyright initiatives it was contemplating were in fact opposed by the majority of people. Yet when this group attempted to muster an actual political rally in Canada's largest city, something in the neighborhood of 20 people showed up. And the media had to herd them together in order to make it look larger protest than it was. Now, if we abandon this environment to our opponents, we get what we deserve. And we don't have to. It's simply a question of radicalizing and activating our own base. The employees, the designers, the creators who rely for their livelihood on IP, as well as their friends and their neighbors and their family. I'll give you a couple of examples, and for the translators, I'll be away from my text for a second. I routinely in Canada do town hall meetings at the major labels and with other stakeholders. I do this on a regular basis, and it started out as an information session, but it's a priceless educational opportunity. And it's a means to involve a large number of people, to give them a sense of a stake in a battle, that they have a stake in it, and more importantly, it removes a sense of impotence that a lot of people have, that this is a battle that we can't win. What can I do? I can't do anything. Well, we can give them something to do. Facebook, a well-organized Facebook page can become a means, a warehouse of ideas, a way to concentrate local stories, amplify them, give them a much broader coverage than you could otherwise hope to get, even from an article in a national newspaper. If this starts to sound a little bit like a manifesto for a political campaign, that is because that's exactly what I'm talking about. Proponents of IP can and should be as active in social media as anyone else. We just don't, as yet, employ the types of strategies that our opponents do. We also have to think about what people are learning about IP in this environment. And here we are losing a war of rhetoric and nomenclature. Theft isn't theft anymore. It's sharing. Rules that are attached to software delivered to consumers aren't rules anymore. They are invidious digital locks, locking down culture. IP developers, patent owners become knowledge hoarders. IP becomes a barrier to or a drag on innovation. It is an impediment to collaboration. All of this, of course, is wrong, but repeated over and over again, and most importantly, left unchallenged, it starts to assume the appearance of a great truth as opposed to what it actually is, a great lie. And this means that we need to challenge these statements whenever and wherever we find them. They need to be challenged on blogs, challenged in the comments section of newspapers, challenged on Facebook pages. This is about share of voice. We need to initiate, moderate, and generate dialogue. If some law professor, as happened in Canada, produces a paper that asserts that so-called old IP is dead and is nothing more than a system of knowledge hoarding, a paper which baselessly asserted that innovation around the world was declining thanks to rigid rules that protect intellectual property, well, then we have to find someone to produce a paper that refutes it. This becomes a war of ideas, a battle for the hearts and minds of a new generation, and we require as much ammunition, if not more, than our opponents have. And paradoxically, those who support IP, to my eye, are actually, in some cases, being outspent in this crucial area of knowledge generation. That's why documents such as that produced by BASCAP and released at this conference are so important. We also need to think who we should be targeting and who should deliver the messages. Extensive research undertaken by CREA in Canada demonstrated that if our target is youth, corporations, and even musicians, beloved or not, are possibly the worst communicators. They're not going to be believed, they're not going to be trusted. If we have to, or if we want to change attitudes to IP, we have to remember that what we're really talking about, what we're really saying is we want to change people's social values. People have a remarkably lackadaisical attitude to counterfeit goods and internet piracy. And in some places, unfortunately Canada, there is an entrenching culture of piracy. People are aware that it's wrong, but they're going to do it anyway. The message seems to be, I know it's wrong, but I'm going to keep doing this. So if you want to stop me, you better do something about it. Now, if the problem is one of changing social values, we have to remember where most people develop their social values. In the home. I think that's what you might have been getting at in the environment that you grew up in. Our research would therefore suggest that if we want to be talking to anyone about this, it's parents that we should be talking to, and in particular, mothers. We need to provide parents with the tools and understanding they need to create an environment in which IP is respected and valued. We can spend as much money as we want on education in the schools, but if children come home from school and see their parents engaged in the theft of content under the guise of sharing, or in possession of knockoff luxury items, our efforts will be wasted. Now, I'm not saying that we should abandon more direct mainstream methods. There are several strikingly valuable examples of superb educational tools being developed, and we've seen some of them in this presentation. I'll give you another example. In November of 2010, ChildNet, a UK charity that is concerned with educating children about the internet, partnered with the IFPI, BPI, and the Film Industry Trust in the UK to produce a groundbreaking consumer education product, music, film, TV, and the internet. This project is aimed at parents and teachers, and it's to be adapted to multiple countries and languages. This is a short, simple, jargon-free, need-to-know guide for the ordinary person. It's focused on secondary school students. This was the third version of the ChildNet Guide, but the first time including television and film. And there was a terrific response to this. You can learn more about the product or the project at childnet.com/downloading. childnet.com. In many respects, the intent of this project is to help to create an internet environment that is safe and respectful for everyone. It aims to engender a safe internet, or what President Sarkozy calls, I believe, a civilized internet. So in conclusion, my message is that we need to take advantage of every tool at our disposal. But in particular, we need to pay attention to how people acquire information and knowledge. And we need to get good, fast, at what our opponents are good at. No, we need to be better than they are. We need to take to social media with zeal. We need to recapture a share of voice. We need to generate more knowledge than our opponents do. We need to challenge every misconception about who we are and what we do immediately and comprehensively. Thank you.